You got a
Yeah,
lot of Funko Pops that are behind you.
I
I'm trying to
I
work out who
I
they
do.
are.
It's kind of my shrine of people that I've spoken to before. So
Love
now you qualify. So
it. Do
next
I?
time we speak, you might see yourself up there.
Amazing.
Oh, amazing.
So hi, I'm Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for Movies in Sweden. So we're airing the show right now. Actually, I think tonight the fifth episode will be released. So
Ooh.
next week is the finale.
Ah,
Oh,
Uh,
that's a biggie, number five. A lot happens in
yeah,
five.
mm.
A lot happens in
exactly.
all of them.
So I've seen everything, but I will hold the interview back until the finale has been shown. So we're free to speak about everything, so you don't
Ah,
have to
okay.
hold your tongue or anything
Okay.
like that. But I'm thinking we'll start from the beginning and just how you kind of found this show, and how you kind of decided that this was something that you really wanted to be a part of. We can start with you, Jing, and then Richard.
I mean, it was a no-brainer for me when I read the scripts. I couldn't put it down, and that's very rare. So I felt completely like just immediately pulled in to the world and just so curious about like this man's guilt and wanting to just like read as quickly as I could, and then the next script and the next script. I only had three. And by the end of three, I still was like, what is going on? I really need to know. So I was just absolutely delighted to be involved, partly because then I could know before everyone else. But I also think on UK TV to have an East Asian female lead or even male is so rare of a major television show, and to represent that community so authentically it was just a long time coming. So I was delighted it was being made, even regardless of whether I was involved or not.
Yeah, and it's not only the lead. There is a lot of Asian representation on
Yeah,
this show
yeah.
in minor roles as well.
You've got one
Uh,
of your own, Thomas Channing, is was
exactly, the pilots.
Danish,
Yeah,
but in Sweden. Yes, exactly. Captain Chen.
Be proud.
yeah. And how about you, Richard?
You know, what happens when you get a project coming to you is that they tell you the premise first, and then if that sounds nice, they then send you the script. So when I
They have to
heard
do the elevator pitch as well.
a little
That's what you
bit,
say.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I heard the premise and I just thought, I don't know about this. Stuck on an aeroplane for 6 weeks, shooting a show. And then I started
With
reading
me.
episode started reading episode one. And then I was like, okay, I always think I'll just read one episode and then I'll put it down and go to bed. And then I couldn't, obviously, like what Jing said. You get to episode three and you're like, can I have episodes four, five, and six, please? And often building up the storyline is really easy. Unpacking it at the end is the most complicated bit, and sometimes they fail. And you get to four, five, and six, and you think, "Oh no, is that it?" But with this, it was like the opposite. It was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they've gone that big. They've gone political. They've gone global." So yeah, I was very excited to take part for that reason.
yeah. And me as well. I've never been on anything, but I watch a lot of television doing my job. So I watch like 150 seasons per year or something like that. So you kind of
Wow.
feel like you can guess the ending pretty fast, seeing that much. But this was one of those that, as you said, they really went there, and when a lot of other shows would have maybe done something
Cheaper.
toned, yeah, it seemed cheaper
Because
or
it's expensive to go big, and they did it. They did it.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
It was
So
also brave. It was like what the message they were putting out there. There's a lot of countries involved in this conspiracy, and
yeah,
they didn't really pull back from what they were trying to say. I was like that. There was a lot of respect there to kind of keep with that. Because I think a lot of earlier drafts that actors get to read, and you go, "Wow, this is the ending," and then during production they kind of get a little bit scared, and they go, "We're just going to change a few things and like kind of mute it down," and they just didn't do that with this show. They were committed.
yeah. And me myself, I'm also I love one location, like thrillers that take place mostly in one location, and this is just that. And last summer we had the hijack one with Idris Elba. So I kind of feel like we need an airplane movie or show every summer now.
Yeah.
And I know, I don't know, have you seen Peter's the flight plan before you sign on to this too? Because he
Yeah,
obviously have something against planes.
that was a big pull. I loved what he did with that film, and the I mean, that plane was huge, but he used
It was
every.
huge. It was like a cinema
Yeah,
auditorium. It was massive.
yeah, I loved. I feel like Peter had a bit of an itch to scratch with like the limitations he had on the length of that story, and he sort of really got in there with this one, and yeah, very good.
Yeah, for sure. And you, Richard, you have done a bunch of the Harlan Coben shows as well. So this is kind of a genre that really you knew would suit you well. But I got an interesting question from one of our readers actually, and he wondered, since you've written your own book, The Geneva, and I know you have The Cut coming as well, do you look at scripts or dialogue any differently now after you yourself is a published author?
No, I think what happened is the other way around. I was able to write in a certain way because of the exposure I've had to so many scripts and book adaptations over the years. So, and Harlan Coben is a perfect example of somebody whose work really translates well from book to screen. And so I was basically just able to reverse that. But you know, I'm obsessed with dialogue, and I'm obsessed with not telling the story through dialogue, or not giving the plot through dialogue, but having human interactions in the middle of a plot. But I think Pete's plotting in this was brilliant. I mean, the amount of times we read the script and went, I don't know what I would do if that were happening in front of me, but you just have to deal with it. And he's brave in that way.
Yeah. And since this is shot mostly in one location, I'm guessing it makes it easier to kind of tell the story and also shoot the story in sequence. Did you do that, or did you have to do it out of order? Because I know that can be really hard to do when it's something complicated. But how was it in this case?
We were very lucky to be able to shoot it in sequence, and it's something that our director Kieran Hawkes felt was very important to do, and I'm very glad that that was the way that it was, because I think this is more than just a normal thriller. You know, this thriller, this story really like pins on the dynamic between Hannah and Nolan. And so for me and Richard to journey through that sequence together and have the shared experience of what that scene before looked like, rather than having to like jump into a scene later and imagine what it looked like when, you know, I beat the crap out of whatever, you know, and all of that. Like, it's to see it with our own eyes and go through that journey is it's so rare to be able to do that. But it just, for me, it is what made that experience for me. And it's very much like a play, because we are in one location and we're kind of doing it chronologically. So that was such a gift. And when we got off the plane, then everything went out the window. It was actually very jarring, because sometimes when you're filming out of sequence, you get used to it. So when you film in sequence and suddenly that it breaks, you kind of go, but what does that look like? I haven't experienced it. So yeah, for the plane, we were very lucky.
Yeah. And Richard, also, I must say that I'm guessing most people, when they come up to you and talk about like The Hobbit or movies like that, but I'm such a huge Castlevania fan, so that's probably one of my favorite adaptations of a game that has ever been made. So I'm hoping you get at least a few people coming up to you to say something nice about that show and how that was to make for you. I know you've done a bunch of audiobooks as well, but can you talk a little bit about that show as well?
Yeah, I've signed a lot of those Funko Pop heads of Trevor Belmont. You know, I said earlier that I'm obsessed with dialogue, and that was one of the things about that show which was so brilliant. I mean, because adapting an animation from a video game, I mean, that's a challenge in itself to make people engage with it. But I think the strength of that show totally rests in the brilliant dialogue between all of the characters. I mean, it used to make me laugh so much when we were recording it. I just thought it was brilliant, and it was anarchic, and it was naughty. Yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah, me too. And Jing, you really get to do some like full-on action scenes in this show, and now you've done Argyle as well. Is that something you would be interested in doing more of, or what is it that you kind of feel drawn to, like in future projects now?
Yeah, I loved action. I really, really enjoyed action. I feel like it's a really a violent choreography. So it's kind of like a dance, just quite a violent one. And it's just fun, you know, like for actors, we talk a lot. We're always sort of, scenes, drama, comedy, whatever. It's a lot of talking. So to really be in your body and to physicalize it it's just a very, very different day on set. So I would love to do more. I would also love to do more comedy, romantic comedy. So what I write is very much in that realm, kind of bringing back the 90s kind of rom-com era, which is 30 years ago. That's terrifying to say. Yeah, I think the world could do with a bit more romantic comedy.
Yeah, for sure. And when people get to this finale next week in Sweden, what do you think, or that Pete and you guys, like, what is the thing that you want people to feel after you kind of have had that final reveal, and you get to see all the knots tied together at the end? What is the feeling that you wish that people have?
Gosh, I mean, I can only express, I suppose, what I felt, which was a kind of enormous exhale, but at the same time, jaw-dropping politics that you just think, I did not see that coming. You've got to pay attention because it's complicated what's happened with Nolan and DC Lee, and what he's been involved in. But yeah, but I think that on a personal level, the relationship between Nolan and DC Lee is an exhale for me. It's like thank God, thank God.
Yeah, and how about you, Jing?
I think it's a really, really satisfying ending, and I hope the audience are really like feel like it's hit that mark, because I think there are some things where they want to go into season 2, so they put it on a cliffhanger, and there's a bit of resolution, but it's not the full resolution, and you sort of like leave people hanging. And season 2 obviously always takes a long time. So for me, when I read the ending, when I've seen it so many times, I think it really does close it in a really, really kind of wholesome way, that it doesn't just leave you hanging. And it's an emotional ending, and it's also, it wraps up the, as Richard's saying, the global conspiracy in a really kind of neat package. I like that. I like closure.
Mm.
You'll get closure.
Me too, because as you said, a lot of shows end in those cliffhangers, and then it goes like a month or two, and you hear that it was canceled, and you
exactly,
like,
and it's
why
not,
did I even watch that?
Yeah, I feel like you're cheating the audience, because you're trying to tee up season 2 for your own kind of, the business side of things, but it's not for the audience. So I think it's brave as well when you do go, here is an ending. We're so confident that we don't need to do the hook to get the season 2. So I really respected that about this ending. It was good closure.
That being said, though, would you guys be up for season 2 if they called and said, well, we have this follow-up story, and we would like you to jump on it? Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Oh, definitely. I would work with this team again in a heartbeat. They were amazing, every single one of them.
I'd be intrigued to see what mode of transport we'd be on.
Yeah. Spaceship.
Spaceship, or a bus down Oxford Street, just shunting along for 6 hours.
Yeah.
In traffic.
I will watch it, that's for sure. So thanks a lot for taking the time to speak with me today. And
thank you so much. Thank you.
I was so happy to I'm so happy that I will be able to share this with all our Swedish
Wonderful.
readers. So best of luck with everything now.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much.
Jonathan.
Thank
Bye.
you.